Hello everybody, today I'm going to be showing you how to make a cliff using Voxel Sniper, the Boulder Brush, and World Edit. I'm going to link the server down in the description so you can try this out for yourself. So first of all, we're going to start out with a ball brush using Voxel Sniper. I'm going to use gold as my placeholder block so I can later paint over this. I'm going to use a huge size of 20 just so that we can get a huge cliff into here. So I'm going to use these balls so that I can get the shape of my cliff just right. We're going to later put rocks over these balls just to hide these balls and so we don't have to smooth it out. Now I'm using a smaller brush to kind of get the finer details in here. Now the command on the screen should be the boulder brush command, where we can put any kinds of rocks onto our mountain. These are randomly generated, and the -A makes it so that anywhere I'm facing um, makes it so that the orientation matches where I'm facing. So if I'm facing north, the rock will face north. If I'm facing south, it'll face south. So I'm going to use the same size boulder as the balls, 20. And then later on, I'm going to use a size of 10 just to get the finer details in once again. Again, I'm using gold because I'm going to paint this over using grass and stone and a bunch of other colors just to make it seem realistic. So now I'm switching over to the smaller brush, which is a size of 10, and then later on I'm going to use a brush size of 5. So I'm adding rocks down here because I kind of wanted it so that like some rocks fell down and then they kind of went overgrown, so that's why I'm adding rocks down here. It also makes it seem a little more realistic. Now what I'm doing is I'm selecting a region so that I can put grass on blocks that are at a certain angle. So blocks that are only at 0 degrees and blocks that are at 50 in that range, they will be changed to grass. So it'll be pretty cool. I do tweak this a lot because I think, oh, there's too much grass, and then I think, oh, there's too little grass. So you just gotta tweak it just right. The command that I show on the screen is probably not what you're gonna use. You're probably gonna have to change the values so that it matches your build and it matches your style. Now I have the grass just right here, and now what I'm doing is I'm going to make a G mask. This will mask um, only the degrees of somewhere around 0 to 80, I think what I did. And then we're going to change that to stone, and then we're going to do the same thing with cyan terracotta. So we're just putting layers on until all the gold is gone. Now what I'm doing is I'm adding granite and andesite into the rocks just so that it adds a little variation into the rocks so it's not all stone. Also, I did cyan terracotta just to add a little more depth into the build and give it a little more character so it's not all stone. So here I am adding andesite to it, and then later on to replace the cyan terracotta I'm going to use clay. So now you can see me replacing the cyan terracotta with clay. You can see how the clay is a little bit darker than the granite, but it still matches. Which makes it, look so nice. And here we are adding granite. We're also going to use jungle wood planks to replace the cyan terracotta. And, it'll just bring it all together using variations and so much other things just to make it realistic and give it character. So once we're done with this process, which should be a little bit, we're going to now select the region again, and this time we're going to do a command which puts grass over the grass blocks. And here I just added some variation into the stone just to give it a little more character so it's not bland or anything. But then, as I was saying, we're going to add grass on top of the grass blocks. We're going to add, grass, ferns, and some flowers. And then we're going to use a thing called assets. It's another plugin on the server. Excuse me. It's another plugin on the server where you can create assets. So you pretty much select an area. So this is, for example, trees. You select your tree, and then you can turn it into an asset. And all you gotta do is place down one block, and it places down that asset, which is so helpful using trees. You don't have to copy and paste one by one, one by one. You can now just use blocks to place down your trees. So here I'm going to be placing down some nice trees, and they go so well with the build. Um, and they look really nice. I'm going to link the person who made these trees in the description. I did not make these trees, but I did place them down. So I'm using 3 different trees. They look similar, but they're not exactly the same. You always want to use not just one, but at least 2 or more trees in your builds. That's because you don't want to make it look like you just copy and pasted a tree over and over in the build. Also, a thing with the asset placer, whatever direction you're facing, it places that asset just like the boulders, and it just helps with rotation and also variation in the tree. So nobody will notice that these are 3 of the same trees. Um, so it all looks like, you made a handmade and stuff. No one can do this in handmade unless you have the patience to do this. So now we are finished with the build. As you can see, it's a nice cliff with some rocks and some trees, and it just looks really nice. And I'm going to show you what you could do with this and how it would fit into a build. And here is my interpretation of a build using this cliff. So it's like a river, and then you have like a cliff surrounding this river, and it just looks really nice in terms of realism. You got oak trees, and you got these other trees, and you got granite and andesite all over the place, and you got the river, and you got some little waterfalls, and it just looks really nice. And you can use this in so many different kinds of builds. You can even use this in a city if you wanted to. I kind of imagined this in like a national park or something. But that'd be kind of weird. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this tutorial. This is my first Minecraft tutorial, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I'll see you guys again maybe in another video. I don't know if I'm going to upload it again. So peace.